8,
You're watching
7,
Experience Comic Culture and
6,
Sales.
5,
Streaming live daily to
4,
Facebook, YouTube,
3,
Twitch, and Twitter.
2, 1.
Hi, everybody. Welcome to Minute to Skim It here on the Experience. We're super happy that you guys are joining us here on Halloween. It's we're no one cosplaying, but I'm looking nerdy today, I guess. Hope everyone's got the costumes on.
I'm cosplaying as a person who's awake.
Excellent. You're almost pulling it off, Kyle.
True. No, I'm just getting over a fact I learned just before we went on the air.
Oh no.
Matthew, I was watching a video on the results of Matthew Perry's autopsy.
Yes.
And it was mentioned that his stepfather is the legendary voice of Dateline, Keith Morrison.
Oh.
So now I need a Dateline special. Keith
Yep.
Morrison, why my stepson was a schmuck or something like that. You know what I mean? Like a joke, like Keith Morrison just making jokes because that's what Matthew Perry would want, but in that Dateline-y way.
The Dateline jokes.
Yes.
Also, I read a bunch of really dark books today, so the humor is super helpful in my brain.
So I got all the cute ones.
I got one cute one that is super cussy, and I'm very excited to talk about it.
Let's get to it.
Wow. So Miss Jen got the cute ones with names like Almost Dead.
Almost dead. It's so
Not
fun.
quite dead.
It's not, just almost so close. This one really does feel like you remember the very beginning of Walking Dead where main character kind of wakes up in the hospital, everything's already started, and like if like kind of the action is moved away from him. That's the way this book starts, where it's like a woman who's clearly on a flight to go and visit, it looks like her uncle or something. And it's just her on the plane realizing her phone's, like not connecting and her phone is nearly dead. And that's the, like, you think is the big conflict. And she gets off the plane and everything is kind of a little bit odd, but not super bad. And she kind of wanders into the bathroom. But meanwhile, if you're actually looking at what's going on kind of around her, there's clearly things that aren't right. She's just kind of like, about. And yeah, you can tell from the front of this book, there's totally I don't know, we'll call it zombie apocalypse because that's probably what it is. But it is just her kind of like not funnily missing everything that's going on, but because the very beginning of her in the bathroom is like she falls down and hits her head pretty hard. I think that forever she's going to have this problem where she keeps on fainting. She probably has a concussion. And so she keeps missing things that are important for probably her survival, but maybe also keep her alive because she misses everything, it's really cool art. It's like this art on the front cover. And it's, I will also say, I'm going to just put this out here as just a guess. So it's written by Galaxy, right? I'm going to say that I believe that Galaxy is the first comic book AI. I'm just going to put it out there as a guess, just because of the way the story lays out.
I like the little smiley face in front of the car.
Yeah, everything's all right.
Okay. So I read Alice Cooper #1, and I came on this show, and I was like, look, I don't think it's good. And then I found out more stuff. Like that Alice Cooper is helping to write it. So now the things I didn't like, I like because they really do align with Alice Cooper's personality. And also in this issue, they seem to have fleshed out the concept a little more than they had in the first issue. So Alice Cooper is Alice Cooper, and the angel Gabriel
Oh.
versus Satan in the plot of a Tenacious D movie. So Satan wants to be the biggest rock star of all time. And the way he decides to do that is by taking out all the other rock stars. But God needs Alice Cooper to defeat Satan. So he gives him a magical, God-powered guitar that he can play and destroy demons. I just kept waiting for Jack Black to show up. Because that's what this is. And it's very funny, and it's just the right kind of dark, but it's not super dark. And it just sort of lays out in a way that makes total sense. So you see Alice Cooper kick the devil in the chest a la Kareem Abdul-Jabbar in that Bruce Lee movie. Like, and like leave a footprint in his chest and beat him with a guitar. Like, I don't know. It was super fun now that I have all the details. But this book is like so much more campy than you expect from a Dynamite book about Alice Cooper that like it still takes you aback a little bit until you kind of get into the, oh, this is called a humor book. And then it makes more sense.
Perfect. I just want to, in the comments, Make Two's asked me a question. I just want to say I'm not ignoring you, Make Two. It was in the email that you received last week before I sent the one that said reminder. It has all the instructions for how to make payment.
So when you said Satan wanted to be a rock star, I immediately went to, but Dio was already here.
Too soon.
Too soon.
Some of us still miss Ronnie James Dio.
I do.
Oh.
Another cute book.
Very cute. Dying Days. And the premise in this one is kind of interesting. I don't know that I've seen it presented quite this way before. The premise is that all of a sudden they start to recognize that people's lifespans seem to be dramatically shorter. Like the new lifespan appears to be about 40. So everyone's kind of accelerated. And so this is kind of like a good mash between people trying to figure out how to maybe cure what's going on, but also having less time to do it. And of course, the personal interactions that happen within the framework of that story, it's got to be tough to kind of like how do you plan to have children if your window is really tight? So there was a bunch of people that instead of trying to become part of society and become, a member that like goes to work and provides things, they have instead said, if I only have that much time, I'm just going to go have fun in it. Forget that. So yeah, this is like, this would be really bad if this is the way people decided to go about it.
That's what I'd do.
That's terrifying. Kyle would be the only one on the show.
Yeah, I'd be the one person, making sure that people had food, I guess.
Yeah, I'd be out there. I would be trick-or-treating right now. Let's be honest. If I found out that I was dying soon, I would be trick-or-treating.
Trick-or-treating sounds like a good way to be part of society.
Right, and by trick-or-treating, I mean just going up to people and stealing all of their candy.
Oh, my word.
Gargoyles Dark Ages. So, very small spoiler right off the bat. In this issue, it looks like they are building the castle. And if you're a fan of the series, you know the castle I'm talking about. This one was filled with, they're doing the thing moments. Like the Archmage starting to teach Demona things. Like just lots of Easter eggs. For fans of the series, the art's good. This issue is setting up, or at least I'm hoping that it's setting up for the eventual betrayal before the cartoon series happened. my own opinion of this series is this should have been released first. It should have been this one, and then one that tied closer to the cartoon series, and then the one that Dynamite released first. Because while Greg Weisman, who wrote for the show as well, is writing this series and I believe the first one, it kind of feels like it goes off the assumption that people had watched the Gargoyles cartoons, and this one, however, is set before the events of the cartoon, and for me, it just feels much more reader friendly. So it's my long-winded way of saying that if you're not into the Gargoyles series, the main one, try this one. This one might be a little bit easier for you, but I really liked it. So,
Hey, Triple B. This is trippy cool. Okay, so this is called Faceless in the Family. Did you see how trippy the art is on the front cover? Feels maybe that it belongs in an art museum, or maybe
Feels like something they'd put on a Matt Fraction book.
Or I was thinking like underground from the 70s art. The whole inside art is exactly like this, but it take away the color. So it is really detailed. Looks like if I was gonna guess, I would say it was all pencil, but I'm sure there's some other technique to it. And it is truly a tale about the main character. You meet him putting kind of on this tall helmet and climbing through what looks like a sewer pipe to go up above ground. And that is Faceless. And he, one by one, meets in the storyline these progressively more interesting characters. Like you think he's probably the most interesting, and then you see these other ones as he meets them. And it's kind of like the family that he's putting together in his kind of like adventures toward a goal. It's kind of like a really rich writing of a character group instead of just like having you start with a group of people that are together. And it turns out that Faceless is wanting to have money to go and have a surgery to fix his face. The weirdness is at some point in this book, one of the other characters sees his face and doesn't understand why he wants to change it. Because you would expect, kind of like Dirk Manning, that he was horribly burned by acid until you actually meet him. And you're like, everything's cool. So I'm not sure why he feels that way. Because the audience doesn't get to see his face. So they're going to always hold that over us, I think. But I would just say, I would buy this just for the coolness of the art. There's nothing really like it out there. Probably for fans of like Rain Like Hammers was kind of like its own kind of art style for a book. It's cool. Oni's putting out some really unique stuff. Like, and none of them are like any of the other ones, and they all definitely feel like they have a place in the market. They don't feel like they're just frivolous. We just got to put a book out there. I understand why they're picking what they're picking. So it's going to take unique people to love this, but I liked it. So
My LCS did not offer this as something I could order, and now I am big mad.
don't be big mad, Kyle. Yes.
Okay, this is one I read, right?
yes.
Okay.
Alex is going to be mad at you if you don't remember.
They're going to be mad at me.
No!
Because all I remember is the end.
Oh, well, you can't say that part.
Right. So here's what I will tell you. If you pick this up, you don't care for 30 pages. And then for 2 pages, like, oh my God, this is the best comic book ever made in the history of ever.
I like those.
There's not enough here to make you care about the characters. There's only the big twist towards the end that goes, well, now I need to say how this pays off.
Mm-hmm.
You don't have, unlike some of the other books, especially that I read this week, where they're so character driven in the the darkness and the horror and in the storytelling, this almost seems character independent, which it may in fact be.
Okay.
Because it's a whole bunch of people doing a whole bunch of not great things and essentially building up their bad karma to the point where you don't even like these people. Like, you don't want to see more story with them. And then the end of the book happens, you're like, what is this, Lost? Like, I don't understand. Why is this happening? And then the book ends. So, like I said,
Hook.
I think this book probably could have been 15 pages and been just as good.
But I think it wouldn't have gotten you to where you were by the time you got to those 2 pages of really truly not liking them.
No, this is the problem, Miss Jen. If I wasn't reading it for this show,
I
would have read the first 10 pages and quit.
Yeah.
I would have that's what I'm saying. This could have been 15 pages and been done. Or they could have trimmed the first 15 because you get not good people doing not good things. I got it quickly.
Hey, Kenneth.
Don't drag me through the next 25 pages or whatever. Like, and that's what it felt like. So I think Alex has a really good concept here. I think maybe the first issue suffers from a little bit of that pilot syndrome, where they're so busy setting up the world, they forget to make the world interesting because they know what's coming.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they know that the world will be interesting, but you got to make it interesting to start so that I care to read issue 2.
There you go. You got the information you need to know. Stick the landing.
Yes.
Oh, so excited. Okay. So as I always say, you guys, I'm not typically or haven't been historically a DC big reader. But I definitely have read all of the Gotham War. I've really, really enjoyed it. So there's not a ton of parts for you to go hunt down. It's been basically in Batman, Catwoman, and this Gotham War title. And sometimes the subtitle is can't remember who the other character was that they had be pulled into it, but it wasn't his own title. And those have been really good. There was one out last week. So all you really need to know is that Catwoman has essentially found the power vacuum that has happened in Gotham City and said, you know what, I'm going to take all of those normal henchmen and train them to be basically cat burglars, because that's not an important enough crime for the police to get real wild up about it. So they're not as worried about that. And so they'll let that stuff go. And essentially she sucks all of the really, truly bad guys out of the system. So there's less real big crime in Gotham. So the police are happy. She's found this perfect little happy place. Well, the problem is that there is still big baddies out there that aren't really liking what's going on. And you see who that is in this book. And in fact, they are willing to do quite desperate things to reacquire some of their previous lackeys. And there is I will say there's some big family damage in this book. This one is a really big end. This is the grand finale of the storyline. And it pays off big time and in pretty extreme ways. And it's a really great read. And I would say probably even you could just read this book with the knowledge I've given you and just enjoy this finale and see how it rolls out into the series, that because it does have implications to the main universe. So you'll need to know what happened to the Gotham War to know what's going forward.
I have a question about
Sure.
the cover.
Yeah.
I don't think Batman's torso could bend that way because he's twisting above the hips. It's like he's twisting his torso in the middle of his stomach. I think if they'd have left the bat belt off and it wasn't so seeable, it'd be fine. But no, they left the bat belt on. Batman is twisted above the hip, or Catwoman's leg is keeping the bat belt from turning, so Batman would be incredibly uncomfortable.
I think
also he's going to pull
him anyway. So
I think we've had enough unbelievable women figures in comics. We can have a couple guys.
Right, but Batman go pull a quad in this. Like, I'm just throwing.
I mean, they missed something, right? Well, they gave us a little bit of half cat cheek there, but they could have given us full bat cheek. I'd have been happier.
That's true.
And then, yeah. Well, anyway. Hey, speaking of cheeks.
Oh,
Happy Halloween, everyone.
my goodness. The one thing I can tell you before I get started with this is I am so vague in the way I do reviews that I hope that some of you are like, I don't understand what this book is about, so I'm going to go get it anyway. Because here's another pretty vague one for you. This series just keeps getting crazier and crazier. Not only is the nudity just ramped up, the what factor is off the charts. Things get done in this book that make you distrust your own eyes. It's a spy thriller. It's got that pulp kind of feel to it. You know, it's smart, it's sexy, and I never thought in a million years that I'd see something done on a nude beach that I don't think I've ever seen done before. My only issue with this book is this was the end. And things are wrapped up. They wrapped up very well, and I need more. This is an excellent book. This is, if you want a more nudified James Bond, this is the book for you. So I would definitely suggest checking this one out.
Tell me the truth. Is it nude beach twister?
No, that would have made more sense than what I saw.
Is it nude beach shark fighting?
I wish, but still
because
no.
it's Jeff is out this week from Marvel, so this could be the crossover book of the year. Heat Seeker meets Jeff.
Lots of nudity. That's all I can say about this book.
You're not going to deny the shark fighting. Got it.
Nope. Speaking of Jeff,
I didn't know that was next either.
Purpose.
I did not know that was next. I am just apparently very psychic today. Jay will tell you I've been on a roll.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. I will tell you that it's Jeff. The Jeff verse is complete cuteness overload. Just like all of the It's Just Jeff universe stuff. It's a no word book except for if someone yells Jeff or words like no. Those things are in here, but there's no actual dialogue. It's all super fun, images to follow, and it's cute things like Jeff choosing his Halloween costume, which is so adorable. It's like cuteness overload on the level of if Scotty Young just basically made the covers to Marvel books through an entire book, and it is awesome. And yes, this last bit on the cover does happen. There is an instance in which Jeff has to call all of his animal pals to come help him resolve what's going on. It involves food, as you can see. But yeah, this is perfect to just buy to have a good, like if you're just having a rotten day, just keep it by your bed to like just thumb through it at the end of the day so you can have a happy end. Or if you have, a nephew, for example, that is not quite reading age, but you want them to start falling in love with comic books, this is the perfect thing for them. And it will just make you feel all the happies.
I just can't figure out who the pterodactyl is. The rest of them, I'm pretty sure I know.
Net Figment?
Could be Figment.
Don't know. But a lot of cool characters on that cover.
Okay. Simon Kodransky is someone who should have been on Bronze Age Nerds and Eyes. Like when we put our 10 greatest Halloween books together, I forgot to recommend Simon Kodransky. This is a person who understands horror on I think an empathic level. Like he feels our fear and then writes it in a comic book. So this is a I'm going to go with lycanthropic story as opposed to a werewolf story, because I don't think they're werewolves per se, as they are the bad guys from the Underworld movies. They're kind of humanist werewolves. But this is a story of a father and son who live deep in the woods and live off the grid, and the son is homeschooled, and he doesn't want to be homeschooled. He wants to be a regular kid, but he can't be a regular kid because his mom is dead. But you don't know why his mom is dead, and his dad won't talk about it. And then blood. So much blood. Like an unbelievable amount of blood. And then they're just like eating. And dad's like, I went hunting early and you were still asleep. And I got us enough meat for the next year. And all of dad's clothes are super bloody and his fangs are sort of retracting. And it's clear that dad is a werewolf and the son doesn't know. And that's the book.
Wow. Okay.
The blood.
Yeah, but like there's like it's I don't what you don't find out in this book is like what I just said is crazy spoilery, right? But there's enough that I didn't talk about that you don't know in the book that it's still read it. Like, do the townspeople know about the dad? Did the dad kill them? There's so many questions left unanswered. Like, how did the mom die? Did the dad kill the mom because the dad's a werewolf and the mom wasn't? Like, do the townspeople know? Anyway, this book will freak me out until I read issue 2.
That's good stuff. Ooh, red light. This is sexy stuff. Okay. So what you need to know about this is definitely not friendly for the office, not office friendly material. There's lots of nudity in it. You know the girl in Blade Runner, the newer one, that is the not real girl that the made Blade Runner is his girlfriend. That is kind of the idea of who this main character is, except for she's got a real body. So the main character is kind of like a, we'll say animatronic girl, but has an AI inserted into her, and you find out later how special the form of AI is that she has. And it's kind of all from her point of view, right? She has this is all great and fine, and my clientele are nice to me, or if they rip my arms off, it's not because they're mad at me or that they're ugly, they're just working through stuff, and it doesn't really hurt that bad, and it's just part of the service. So it's just kind of like you're almost seeing the internal dialogue that happens probably for people that are trafficked, that they're like, this is just the way it's supposed to be. And it's really interesting to see her internal monologue of journey about what all of that means. It's pretty heartbreaking because it's clear that world is kind of like a very accepting of this. And yeah, it's very, very, very adult.
Okay. So in true J fashion, I picked this book, didn't look at the page count, went to read it. It's 130 some odd pages. So I skimmed it. This legally not Catwoman story looks like it takes place in the 30s or 40s. So naturally, Nazis are the bad guys. They're the big bads in this. The art was good. The story was pretty cool. It kind of felt like Catwoman mixed with Rocketeer with just like a splash of Zenoscope. It was a lot bloodier and violent than I thought it was going to be. Some of the pages I saw, I was like, oh, okay. It has a certain look to it, but the look was kind of deceiving because once you get into it a little bit, there's some pretty bloody scenes in it. I would definitely tell people that if you're a Dynamite fan, You should definitely pick this up. From the little bit that I skimmed of it, I'm like, okay, I'm pretty sure when the show's over, I'm probably going to go back and read the rest of it because it's a nice little not legally Catwoman story.
I kind of feel like, I'm pretty sure that Miss Fury's been around since the time of like, what are some of those old Golden Age characters that they also have over at Dynamite? Other than
Miss
the
Fury is
Rocketeer.
definitely a
the-
public domain character.
Yeah, like Phantom, that kind of stuff.
I will say I'm bummed that it's called Joy Division and that the whole thing isn't a reference to 80s synthwave.
Oh, jeez. Goodness.
This one was cool. Okay, so I'm a sucker for sci-fi.
Hold on, Miss Jen. I tried to read this one and I knew you would be reading it. And when I didn't get it, I stopped because I'm like, Miss Jen will do a better job of telling this story than I will.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm so glad you actually read it because I want to like it, but I need you to tell me what's happening.
To me, it is a true tale of the haves versus have-nots, or a tale that takes place in a place that has different caste systems. So this one actually happens in space. It looks like there's some kind of vehicle that's going on long journey, like generations long of journey. And the lady there is a pilot, and she lives in the upper parts of the ship and only really does piloting. That's her thing. And at some point she gets in trouble and actually is trying to like run away from the trouble that she's caused, and falls down to a different level of the ship, in which she meets this guy right here who's part of considered a lower caste guy, but she doesn't know anything about that. And what they find out kind of through the storyline, which is really great storytelling, is what's different between the two spaces, especially that they are preconceived about each other. Like, one of them believes that the other one eats cats. And, it's like this idea that they're the people that are down below that really create the food and the air for everyone above. They're kind of happy with their lot, like they don't know any better. But then, he gets a peek at what actual stars look like that he's never ever seen in all his life, because they never let you off your level of whatever this ship is. It's gonna be a love story wrapped in the unfairness, or is it unfair? Is it necessary for everyone to be doing their job to make it to a new world? Is that acceptable?
So is Space Titanic.
Kind of Space Titanic.
When the ship blows up, is she going to let him on her door? That's the question.
We'll see.
All right.
I love this cover so much.
I made a joke about this book last night on Nerd News Now, but I'm going to make it again. This is from this guy, he's kind of an up-and-comer in the business called Scott Snyder. And it's drawn by another guy who, I don't know if you've ever heard of him or not. He's kind of been underground, Dan Panosian. Neither of those things are true, but this book certainly feels like it. And by the way, this issue is quadruple size. It's 130 pages. And I read every page.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it took me an hour and a half to cover this book. And I'm so glad I did. This might be my favorite book of the week, had the freaking Blood book, Blood Covenant, or whatever it's called, not come out, and one of the other books we're going to cover not come out. Like, this would be the best book of the week. So this is a story of essentially Wyatt Earp.
Okay.
Except it's not Wyatt Earp. They're in an area that would become Idaho, way back kind of post-Civil War, but right post-Civil War. It's the Wild West. And it's a story of a U.S. Marshal who gets sent to this town called Canary to investigate, as part of an investigation into a series of murders that have happened sort of out of nowhere by people who are not the murdery type. So, mothers killing their kids killing their school teachers, and the reasoning for all of it is really strange. So like the mom killing her kids because they giggled too loud, the school teacher or the school kid killing his teacher because she dug an egg up out of the ground that would have survived had she not dug it up. Like stuff like that just don't make really any sense for the time. And it all goes back to a showdown that this marshal had with somebody in his past that he wrote what they call a dime novel about. So think a pulp noir book, except in the Wild West. And he didn't tell the whole truth in the novel.
Mm.
And so everybody believes something about him that may or may not be true. And so it's him going back basically to the scene of this thing with a rock doctor, which is different than a rock lobster, and is also a geologist, to investigate if a mine collapse that happened in a copper mine in this area is the cause of all of this. This is a book that's set. If you read Midnight Western Theater, Midnight Vampire Western Theater, whatever it's called,
You got it right.
Midnight Western Theater, or any of those kind of sort of horror Western books, you're going to be into this. Really reminds me a lot of Golden Age Jonah Hex.
Okay.
Where it's got the supernatural element to it, but it's still a Western. Super fun. And, Dan Panosian has been doing great things on Alice Never After. There's a couple other books that he did this week. This may be the best thing I've seen him do in a long time. This is some top level work from both of these guys. It's the best thing Scott's written in a long time. It will make your brain feel as though it's pea soup for a little while, because you're like, wait, what? Because you have to get all the details, otherwise it doesn't make sense.
Mm-hmm.
One thing, for instance, the geologist. Oh, we're gonna get to Red Sonja in a minute, Nick. But the geologist is black at a period just post Civil War. And so that's a level that you have to kind of read into, in the way Dan depicts him kind of accentuates that part of the storytelling, which is why I say this might be the best thing I've seen him do in a long time. His Red Sonja that came out this week is great. I mean, it's phenomenal, but he is adding so much to the already incredible writing of Scott Snyder in this situation that it really just elevates everything.
Oh yeah, Spooder Boy. Okay, so I asked a question the other day. I couldn't, because I didn't read every single book that Spider Boy's appeared in since we saw him in Spider-Man, I think 8. And I had asked a question whether he had been revealed, like what was under the mask. And it's clear that that has happened at some point. Either that, or at the very beginning of this book, they show you who he is, and with no like, ooh, fanfare. He's a ginger, and he's adorable.
Soulless Spider-Man.
That's right. And it appears, my guess is that he lives in a home with other kids, like a kids home, group home. He, I guess at some point ahead of this issue, people have seen him in his full form, which he's more spider looking than any other spider before. Like when he fully spiders out, he has like his mask looks like he has many multiples of eyes, just like a regular spider would. And so he kind of gets unfairly portrayed as being kind of a bad guy, even though he actually at the beginning of this book saves a bowling alley from a new supervillain who has a bowling ball for a head. Can't make this stuff up, just telling you. And so this is a rated T book, and this feels very much like it's perfect place for teens to fall in love with a new character. And they've also kind of like introduced this character as this character believes he has been regular Spider-Man's sidekick for a long time, and that for some reason the last 3 years no one remembers, which is bad. I mean, they've accepted him. It's just weird that he has conceptions about what has been going on that no one else knows about. So you're kind of wondering, like, well, what if that's true? When did everyone forget all like the 3 years that happened? When was the time gap? And does that have implications other places in the Marvel universe that we don't know about? That part is pretty intriguing to me. I don't think I've ever seen them introduce a character with the idea that, like, I've always been here. You guys just forgot about me. So I don't know. It's really great. There's a bunch of really cool covers for this. I like the character very much. And I do like that he's a ginger. So there.
Okay. I kind of wish I would have read issue 1 of this. I wasn't super lost though. I got the gist of it pretty quick in this issue. People go to see a movie and the monsters on screen come to life. So basically the movie monsters are all in this conflict to become God of Monsters, which I guess is the name of the movie that people went to see. There's a Dracula, the Mummy, a werewolf, a very dope Frankenstein monster. I really like the Frankenstein monster in this. There's a few more, but I'll let you read and find out for yourself. It's Dark Horse, so it does have that Dark Horse style of art, which is never a bad thing. It's just they have a very specific art style with a lot of their books. It's violent. I'm talking eating faces violent. So if you're into some violent stuff, this is definitely one to check out. It's been a while since I've read a Cullen Bunn book. I'm going to be honest that I've enjoyed, but I chalk that up to when you write 900 books a month, you're bound to only have 1 or 2 that people really like. But I think this one was a banger. So
yeah, I think that what you might not remember from the number 1 issue, which is what I read, was that it was a movie that had never been finished because the director died.
Right.
And so who knows how they made this get done.
Right. It was a movie that ended under strange circumstances. So
surprise! I didn't understand that this Street Fighter Omega is just the covers for all of the Street Fighter series, and then like a really cool. I mean, I love them. They're very pretty. Like this is like pretty much a book you could just like take all the pages out and frame them. And then at the end, it actually has like them in order with the storyline that's in each one of them, so you can like make a checklist, I guess. So anyway, there's no reading material in this to get you ready for whatever's going to be next, because I don't think there's been a Street Fighter in a while. So maybe this is their like, remember, Street Fighter's awesome, and this is why, because it's cool art.
Street Fighter's been teaming up with the TMNT recently.
Yeah. Oh, that's true. Yeah. So this is great for art lovers, but not for story readers.
Okay, so this is incredibly cute but cussy. Yes, this is good comics for bad people, and everyone should buy this trade paperback. So essentially, this is Cyanide and Happiness at a somehow lower art style. You know, because Cyanide and Happiness are basically just stick people. Look, there are butts in places there don't need to be butts, and there is cursing in places there don't need to be cursing. But every page is a 4-panel story that ends with a laugh. Like, I read the first 30 or so pages of this and just laughed pardon my French, laughed my ass off. And mainly just because there are asses in places you don't expect to see them. So,
you're saying the 8-year-old boy in me will think it's awesome.
The 8-year-old boy in you will be like, I need to tell the 7-year-old boy in me about this. There's some of it that's a little highbrow in terms of you got to kind of get the joke. There's sometimes a little political or a little, I don't want to say political, but like their office humor, like, you know, having a bad boss kind of stuff. Like, so there's some of that you got to kind of pay attention to. but just stupid fun. Zach Stafford crushed it on this. And like I said, it's a coffee table book. It's not, there's no plot. Each page is a 4-panel story.
Perfection. Ultimate Universe. This is a place where the real storytelling starts. Ultimate Universe is Hickman's new big long form stuff that's going to be happening. I know just enough to be dangerous about this. Don't come into this too late. Don't be those people that really regret not having, Ultimate Fallout 4. In this one, they specifically, like the main characters, because this is not really our Ultimate Universe. It is the universe that the maker has created. And then they imprisoned him under a dome. Ha ha. So this is Doom going with Iron Lad, and there's one other person with them, go to break out Thor, who in this universe, Thor never became Thor because Maker's whole purpose in this universe was to go and destroy all the things that made the heroes their heroes. So all those events in their lives that made them special or put them in their positions, he's messed up. And in this case, he went specifically and killed Odin and put Loki on the throne. And that's the way this is. Thor's just in prison. He's never been king. So this is the breakout, and then they actually also eyeball Cap, which despite the fact he's on the front cover there, I don't think he actually appears in the story as a not popsicle. But you're going to start seeing them form up who are the main players in this universe. And of course, the main baddie is going to end up being the Maker, because he's going to be real mad that they're messing up. And of course, they're not going to have their origins like they once had. You are literally seeing brand new superheroes because they're not the same. It's awesome.
And no, that U doesn't look like a former DC logo at all.
Okay, the Nasty. I'm super biased about this because I am a John Lee's mark. I love John Lee's work. Now, I missed an issue. I've read 1 and 2, but that was so long ago that I don't remember most of it. But I enjoyed this one. Imagine being a horror fan and you have an imaginary friend that happens to be a killer from a movie, and he grows up with you.
Calvin and Hobbes, but stabby?
Pretty much, yeah. Pretty much. If I remember correctly, there's these kids that work at, like, a bunch of them work at a movie, not a theater, but rental place. I don't remember what they're called anymore, but
Video store.
there you go. It's been so long. Anyway, they get like the scariest movie ever made, right? And they're gonna show it, but somehow the only copy gets destroyed. So they decide, well, nobody else has ever seen this. We're just gonna remake it. Well, somehow the imaginary friend read, everybody can see him now, and you can be killed if they're recording. Like, you can be killed, but as soon as they stop recording, you come back. So it's like you really die on film, but you come back as soon as the camera cuts off.
That's interesting.
Yeah. So again, I'm doing this for memory, and my memory is terrible. Everybody knows that. So hopefully I'm close. The art style matches the story. And again, it's John Lee's. His work is awesome. Check this one out. I'm going to make sure to get the trade, read it, come back and watch this video and be like, wow, Past J was way off, but I'm still going to enjoy it. So you should definitely check this out.
White Widow is awesome. It is her truly being her own person, right? This is not dependent upon any other characters. This is her at her, her normal wet work, being her best. So just, if you like White Widow, the character, Yelena, come for her. You will not be sad at all.
Okay. So Nick brought it up, and this is this is a different category of Dan Panosian. Okay, this is Dan Panosian writing, and also drawing some. But it's Red Sonja. Look, we have this problem that Dynamite does, where they put out too many Red Sonjas to the point where some of the Red Sonjas don't feel like Red Sonja anymore. This feels like Red Sonja. Red Sonja meets these kids who need her help, and she helps them. And at one point, Red Sonja stabs a lot of people. It's what Red Sonja is supposed to be. She's not talking like she's from 1980s in Brooklyn. She's not like doing magic, or her shirt doesn't talk to her. It's Red Sonja stabbing bad guys. You can't mess it up if that's all she does, and that's all she does. This is great. I still think the other Dan Panosian book is the better Dan Panosian book this week, but this is certainly number 2 on the 3 or 4 of them that came out this week of Dan Panosian.
Haunting on Mars. Thanks, Nick. We appreciate that. It allows us to
we really
focus
do.
and buy them all.
Well, and this way I'll remember which one's which.
This one's really awesome. So it doesn't look like it from the cover, but it's actually more space sci-fi than it is reliant on the haunting part of this. Imagine it's more related to John Carpenter, The Thing, or yeah, it's my brain stopped there. So this one actually has on their team going to the planet a psyot, basically someone that can tear people apart with their mind, and someone that's an empath that can affect people's moods and stuff and can read their minds, and some big old toughies, and they're coming up against some pretty terrifying stuff. So if it says terror, and it is terror, but it's kind of feels like it's its own genre that they put together. I really enjoyed this one this week.
Okay, we all know why I picked this. This is my last book. This was my palate cleanser. What better than a My Little Pony story? I mean, this was fun. The ponies are still looking for Bigfoot, and they just maybe found the proof they need. But let's be real. This is just a cute story. There's no real stakes. There's no blood, violence, face eating, none of that. This is the kind of book that you read to remind yourself you're not a sociopath who feels nothing but dread and is only happy when you see comic book characters mangled. It's like taking time from watching kill count videos to watch soldiers surprising family members or puppies playing with ducks. I'm calling me out too, man. I'm calling all of us out with that.
I read the darkest crap I've read in weeks this week, and you're like, Camp Big Hoof for normal people.
As normal as we can be.
All right. So tear us apart, number 3. If I'm still reading a book on this show on issue 3, it's because it's great. This is great. Jay Baruchel is crushing it. So we now know that these people, these kids, this Romeo and Juliet couple, have escaped from a cult. Essentially, they are supernatural Black Widow. Right? They are in a cult of assassins. But the government is involved in the cult of assassins, or some organization is like making sure the cult stays afloat. And they've escaped, and they found this woman in the woods who's helping them escape. And in this issue, she takes them to town for the first time, and they discover a mall. And they do that thing where if you took a 7 or 8-year-old to the mall and gave them a budget and just go crazy, they did all the things that the 7 or 8-year-old would do. They went to the food court and ate all the food. They got pictures with Santa. They bought normal people clothes. They almost got in a fight with some local kids. And then when the cops show up, it all starts to become very clear about why these kids have been able to be in this cult and nobody knows about it. So there's a big twist that happens that I don't want to spoil. that really is sending this into another gear going forward. Like, this book has already been in third or fourth gear. It's finding yet another level of, oh, holy crap, that I think really is going to set this book apart.
An Unnatural Order. You should be able to find this at pretty much every comic book shop tomorrow, I'd imagine. Vault did a real big thing and made sure that every store had access to these. So definitely pick it up. This is for people that like the cool old pagan tales of druids and those kinds of like real dark magic lore. I will just tell you that it's pretty straightforward until you get to the very last page, and then you go, what the heck? That's not what I thought was going on at all. What am I seeing now? So there you go. This is me saying, don't forget to go all the way to the end of this book.
Yeah, I read this one too. And look, it's Celtic mythology with druids and some Norse mythology all mixed in together. And then at the end it's, oh, well, it's none of that. Okay. Can I have issue 2 now, please? Like, fight through it, get all the way to the end. It's worth it.
Yep.
All right.
That's all we have for today.
Yeah, we got to read less books next week.
Oh no, I couldn't have pared mine down at all. I actually had to put back 3 or 4 of them that I really wanted to read. So
yeah, we got to read. We got to talk less. But we will be back next week with more books. Visit comicshoplocator.com to find comic shops near you. Stay tuned. Collecting bro, collecting dude, collecting guy, comic homie Alex is going to fill in for Mint Hunter. And then following that, if you missed Miss Jen with Tyler Main yesterday, it's re-airing tonight at 8:30 or 8:45, right after the
collecting
Alex's show, filling in for Mint Hunter. Miss Jen will be on CBSN. We'll be back tomorrow. We'll see everybody next time.